right, what's up? Welcome back in YKTR Sports Nation to the Body Science Content Studio. I am your host, Vintage Jackson, and it's Wednesday, so I'm joined as always by Skipper Scope. What's up, baby? And the boss, Isaac John. How are we, boys?
Very good, very good.
Desi, welcome back to the show.
Have a good show, Des.
It's time to talk sports. We always start with three of the best, but before I do that, I'm going to give you again 10 seconds. It's not long. Jump in, make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe. That's what gets the boys paid. That's what pays the rent. Rent's due, dropping Thursday, 6 p.m. All right, plenty to get into, boys. We're going to start with the same flow here. We have sort of three big topics around the world of sport before we break down our final top four for the year. Scope, we're going to start with you here because me and you got the pleasure, the honour of going to the Māori versus Indigenous All-Stars game.
Yeah, beautiful.
Where'd you think I was going there?
I thought you were going to talk about Whittamu Greg when you said the pleasure.
I will, don't worry. First of all, talk a little bit about the game, but sort of just the experience, the whole atmosphere of being there. What'd you make of Saturday?
Yeah, unreal. First time I got to experience it live. One thing I noticed straight away was walking into the stadium was how much the cultures embrace, and actually I feel like there's a lot of love between the two cultures, Aboriginals and Māoris. You know, sometimes you go to certain games with different heritages, like Bulldogs games stand out, and you've got those sorts of things, and there's like a bit of ruckus sometimes after games. Like, it felt like everyone just fucking loves this, and everyone, no matter where you stand, there's just so much love around the game. Going into the actual game itself, I thought some players really stood up. I wrote, and I said to you straight away, I really noticed some body shapes, which we'll get to in a bit, but some players looking really fit. Like, I know they've just finished preseason, but some guys are in really good nick, and it's not necessarily losing weight. I thought some guys, in particular Tyrell Sloan, Put on a bit. Like, he looked like he thickened out a little bit. Like, he trained with him in October or November, and even when I trained with him at that point, at the back end of the season, I was like, he could use a couple of kgs, and I thought he, definitely did that. Filled out a little bit more. Selwyn Cobbo looked like he's dropped a little bit, which is nice. So, yeah, those are some of the things that stood out for me. What about you, Ice, watching from at home?
Yeah, I loved it. I think it's a great way to open up the season. I think because there's no time restraints with terms of like TV and stuff, so we can really buy into the cultural aspect before the game. And like when we're growing up in New Zealand and we do like huckers and stuff, sometimes a lot more effort goes into that, and you can see the level up in the Indigenous with the face paint and the sticks, and they're embracing multiple cultures now. So I thought that was really, really cool. I love the football as well. I just think it's a great way to open up the season. There's a lot of culture, there's a lot of feeling in it, and they're always great games that come down to the last play, so it's super exciting. I think it's better than Nines and all that sort of stuff as well.
Yeah, the Nines lost its polish quick.
Yeah, and it's less chance of injury as well. So I know a lot of players get scared of injury, but we've seen 2 ACLs done at training as well. So injuries are a part of the sport. They are going to happen, but I loved it. Loved everything about it. Players that stood out for me: Jordan Rapana, Joseph Tapine. We were hot on Tapine a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about him. Watching him play makes me feel like Raiders have got a bit more of a chance, but the ball has to go, or the leadership has to go through there. So there's got to be a changing of the guard with Hodgson and all that sort of stuff there. But I thought Selwyn Cobbo was really good. His little touches at the back. I was watching it different because I was watching it on TV. But when he was at fullback and he was starting to move, he was breaking tackles pretty easy. So pretty exciting times.
When we were at the game, Scope, we were...
Was it obvious when you were there?
Well, we were talking about Selwyn Cobbo, and obviously he played really well. But I said to Scope, I was like, the comparison's always Latrell, and I was like, he doesn't do that. Like when Latrell came on the scene, it was like he was throwing grown men, like it was just dominant. And I was like, I don't really see that from Cobbo. And within about 5 minutes of us having that chat, he started to.
So I'm watching the game. And I'm sort of thinking the same thing. I said,
he's good, but
we obviously like him. I think he might start on the wing for him. I think he'd be able to play a bit of a roving role for the Broncos. But when I was watching it originally, I was going, geez, have we hyped him up a little bit too much? Just let the kid sort of find his way, because he played really well in Queensland Cup, but it's a step up. And then within the space of a couple of minutes, like me and Jacko were like, there's the plays we're looking for. Like he sort of, like you mentioned,
he worked into the game a bit. Yeah.
I just wanted to see him, come off a few kick returns, beat a few people, a couple of little stiff arms. He did that, a couple of little bumper bars. So yeah, he finished the game really well once he filled into it. And one thing I want to mention with the body shape stuff, when you drop a little bit of weight too, as you know, Ice, playing footy sometimes, it's not necessarily the best thing as well. Like it takes you a while to adjust to it. So what happens, I'll give you an example. When Steve Kearney come from Melbourne, I lost a shitload of weight from the 2000 and, the Parramatters, the picture that fucking Lukey puts up all the time. I normally played about 102 kilos. I got down to 95 to start the 2011 season. and I felt like I was getting bashed. Like it took me so long to get into the season, and then I ended up wanting to put weight back on halfway through the season because I had no punch in my carries. I felt like I was getting driven back even more so than what I normally did. But so sometimes things like that take a little bit of time. I think it's a benefit for him though, but you just got to learn to play with it. It might take 6 to 8 weeks to realise, all right, well, I'm a little bit fitter now, but I probably don't have the power originally to start the year. So,
and that happens with halves as well. Like if you're a little bit too light in your mind, you're like, fuck, I can run all day. But then when contact's coming into me, I feel like I'm getting driven back as well. Yeah. And then when you get like a little bit too heavy, you're like, oh, I'm not going to be able to get around the park. So you're always playing these mind games with yourself in the change rooms, and like it affects some people and it affects others. And like a lot of the times, if I was feeling like a little bit off, I wouldn't even stand on the scales. I would just write my ideal weight, and my ideal weight to play it was like 91 on the dot, so I just write 91, and in my mind I'm like, I'm playing right at the way. Jump on.
Speaking
of
95. Speaking of halves, obviously we sort of talked a lot about the Indigenous spine rolling in with that sort of Sharks combination. I thought Nico was good. I thought Trindle kind of did his role, but what did you make of that sort of Cronulla connection early on?
Yeah, it wasn't that great, to be honest. Yeah. Like, I thought it was just okay. I thought Nico was trying hard, and a lot of the times their forward got bashed up a little bit, so they were trying to do the Melbourne thing where they shift to make yards and then roll off the back of that, but it just wasn't really working for that. Obviously, it's a little bit different. He's going to be going into a system at Cronulla that they've been practicing for the whole preseason, and I'm sure Craig Fitzgibbon's got his systems that he wants to implement. So, like, wasn't anything outstanding. I thought they got outplayed by Cody Nikorima. I thought Cody Nikorima was really good. Yeah. Cody Nikorima doesn't kick the ball as well as someone like Nico Hines, but I like when Cody gets multiple touches and different looks. So I don't feel like his best way to get the ball was that first receiver. I feel like it's off and offload or a quick play the ball. But if he can combine all those different looks, I think he's really interesting to watch.
I think he posed an interesting question for the Warriors. We came in with Sean Johnson's going to be the 7, everyone knows that, and we were all excited about Ash Taylor, but I think Cody's sort of, maybe push his nose in front there. I
know he doesn't want to be 14, but he's 14 for me.
Yeah.
Like he's got nice little subtleties out of dummy half when he went down the short side and shit like that.
It's the Benny Hunt scenario. Yeah. Like they roll out a hooker so much cleaner than they do like a little bit wider. But they're still very good out wide, but it just looks like a little bit more natural.
You know what you can identify that sometimes, just your average 9 won't pick up that a half can see as well. So if you remember, I don't know if it was the second, what time the Warriors? Yeah, not Warriors. The Māori All-Stars were coming down our way, and I noticed in about the 20-minute mark, he got Torel Fuimoana was caught at marker by himself, and he identified that. He fucking just a nice little feint left, come down the short side, burn him, made about 10 or 15 metres. For people that don't know, like coming out of yardage, those sort of yards are invaluable. Like
remember that try he scored last year, and he was just getting offloads, and he sort of slipped through like that. He should be trying to get himself in probably about 10 of those scenarios a game.
Yeah.
And he could be anything he wanted to be. Because when he gets an offload, natural instincts just take over, and you watch him. Like a lot of players who are super structured, and I was like this as well. Like, when he used to offload and they offloaded to Cooper Cronk and it looks like he was panicking because he wasn't comfortable in those situations. Guys like Cody, guys like Sean, guys like KP, they prefer to be in those situations. So it's about getting yourself in those situations as many times as possible.
I just want to give 2 more guys a wrap for the Māoris because I didn't really get to touch on them before we move on. D Walks, I thought D Walks was really nice.
Bro.
When he got in and played that 14
in the middle,
which we love. He started to come in. He played a bit of 6 when they spelled Chanel. But even in the first half, they might have spelled Cody or Chanel for a little bit. And D Walks come in and played a bit of 6 or played a bit of a roving role, which we're all excited about for Manly. I'm sure we might get to that point at one point. Another guy, Paddy Herbert. After the way the season ended last year, early on in the game, he got a nice little stiff arm from David Fafita. When Dave went up and set up that first try.
That happens to anyone though, eh?
Hey, that could happen to the best of them. But I thought, when I seen that happen, I was like, how's his confidence going to be off the back of, that pass last year into that? But the way he rebounded, and mate, he come at Dave for the rest of the fucking game.
He can hucker with the best.
There were a couple of times where it was close to us. And he legit threw his whole body every time to
He's used to seeing him at training every day too.
So he did a good job, and I'm happy for him because a nice little bounce back game for him considering what the way he finished the year last year.
The old Dean Fuddy coming in and having some few shots. Hey, bro, he was reading them perfectly too.
Yeah. If you imagine Herbert's debut, that's what put him on the map. Was he was coming in and shotting, I think it was one of the Storm centers. I can't remember, but defensively he's a rock. Sweet. Let's move on. Scope. We're going to throw in a little bit of a curveball here, but the Super Bowl was obviously on Monday. I know you're a big football fan. LA got the dub. What'd you make of the game, man?
Yeah, it was a pretty good game, considering there was a bit of hype around it. It was one of those games where I was sort of excited for both teams. Like, I had no investment with it, being a Packers fan, but I genuinely liked both of the teams too. There wasn't much like that sort of put you off any of the players. Everyone seemed to be good dudes. Like, I love the fact that Joey Burrow could have done it after Jamar Chase. I was all in on them boys, and plus talked about it week 6 of the rookie event that got scrapped. But yeah, on the other side, a guy like Aaron Donald, who, if he never does or says anything wrong. He's the ultimate competitor. I enjoyed Matt Stafford from afar as a Packers fan. I thought, like, in the right system, and we talked about it as well a couple of times. Like, if you put him in the right system, and I don't know if you've seen the highlight that's been circulating the last couple of days. The no look pass,
Deadly.
On the winning drive to kick Cooper Kupp right through the guts. Just all around a good game. Decent halftime show we tried to replicate that and failed at. But
that's coming.
All in all, it was a good Super Bowl, and I'm happy for the Rams.
You love a bit of LA, love a bit of OBJ. What'd you make of it?
Yeah, I just like the spectacle. Obviously, I'm a casual. I'm just a casual in this. Like, I really enjoyed that final series all up. I think they're all really good games. So I think it just really put the game in like a bright light. And LA is pretty much the dream Super Bowl you could go to. And obviously seeing Boydie Cordner over there and living that experience. So it'd be hard to top that Super Bowl, in my opinion.
In LA, in the new stadium.
Their team wins.
Superstars everywhere. An Aaron Donald called game. Like, it was pretty
clutch.
It come down to the weakness going into it. Everyone assumed was the Bengals offensive line, and it read its hair at the perfect time. And the strength.
Have you seen that photo on that last play? How open
Jamar Chase was.
Yeah, that's scary. That'd have been cool too.
I think he got Ramsey bad twice. One catch from one drop where he completely beat them all ends up in that game, which no one gets Ramsey.
Jamar Chase is a freak. Like, he's going to be like Ramsey's sort of got done by. But the thing that I respect about a guy like Ramsey is a lot of coaches and players won't want to put themselves in that position. And Ramsey will never shy away from that. So as much as you get burnt by Jamar Chase, Jamar Chase is like he's going to be a special player. Sometimes we throw out that once in a generation with NRL, NFL and that, but the way he's projected in his first, he broke all the records for Cincinnati and the rookie record. So he's going to be a star. Would have been like either finishes mad. Aaron Donald makes the play, fucking drives through offensive line, pulls Joe Burrow down, points to the ring straight away without even with his teammates. And then the other sliding doors, what could have happened if he had an extra half a second? Jamar Chase was gone, and
Burrow would have hit him.
He takes that to the house. Burrow fucking hits him in stride. We've seen that at LSU in the Clemson final. It would have been one of those sorts of scenarios.
So legit, the any given Sunday game of inches sort of speeches, and it could go either way, and that's the beauty of sports.
Yeah, especially American sports. I love that it came down to the two best players in that game were Joe Burrow and
it felt like
Aaron Donald.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Cooper Kupp, we love Cooper Kupp.
Yeah,
but you know what I mean. Yeah,
I felt like every game was fucking decided by 3 points as well, which was fucking unreal.
Is there an NRL player comp for Cooper Kupp in his season? Because that was
it was scary that the last drive and he kept hitting. I mean, everyone knew where the ball was going.
Lewis Riddick was saying in commentary, he goes, no matter if you're the Bengals, no matter what you do not let number 10 beat you. He goes, I don't care if Van Jefferson scores now, or if Sony Michel busts you, just do not let Cooper Kupp score. And they just kept going on. But I don't know if there's it was sort of Benny Barber-esque his season. I don't know whether that's just body shape, but.
Well, he was building to it. For people who don't know, Cooper Kupp he was a second-round draft pick from the Rams about 4 years ago. He did his ACL, I believe, or a season-ending injury a couple of years ago. But he was building into a nice player. The only thing is he was sort of held back a little bit by Goff's limitations there. Yeah. So once Stafford come in, he sort of unlocked Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp's about 28, 29. I was trying to think of a comp at the moment. I probably don't have one at the moment.
It was just a historic season. So
he's he's a really good wide receiver.
Yeah, he's a gun. To a completely different body shape now. Bam Bam TUIVASA and the boys getting it done at the UFC over the weekend. I know we're all sort of, we're not massive UFC fans. Lukey and I love it, but we all tuned in to watch the Anzac boys do their thing.
Fucking have to.
What'd you make of the big fella dropping the elbow and setting the sports world alight?
Yeah, obviously I don't know anything about UFC, so I'm just going to sort of touch on it briefly, but I just feel like he looked better when he was in a scrap. Like, obviously he had to keep his distance, and I was listening to all the commentary because I like learning through that way. But once he got clipped, I think he just fell back on his sort of natural instincts and just started swinging. I feel like he looked better.
Yeah.
So, yeah, as a man that doesn't watch UFC, and I'm not going to start talking about this, but pump for Bam Bam, moves into the top 3, hopefully gets a title shot soon, and we'll all be around him 100%.
I think he's, and I'll throw this to you now, Scope. I think he is very fast becoming, and I know Australia's sports landscape is huge. He's becoming one of the biggest and brightest sports stars in Australia pretty fucking quick, Bam Bam, isn't he?
Yeah, and you can tell that from the commentary as well. So one thing that stood out to me, when you had your interview with Tyson and Ty, he told us he was just about to go over and do a camp with DC, Daniel Cormier, and it's sort of like we were all pretty excited for him. And I was almost listening because I've seen him a couple of times since as well, and I talked about, how valuable that camp he did was. He hasn't stayed with it, but I think it was before. At that time, he was on a bit of a skid.
3 fights losing streak. Yeah.
And then so it was a make or break for him. And I think he spent about 6 weeks with Cormier before his first fight of this win streak.
I think him being in Dubai really helps as well.
And you can tell.
Get out the area.
You can tell for me, just because knowing sort of what the situation was through Ty telling us, you can tell he's sort of in touch with Cormier as well, like how much he's improved in his heavyweight fights, because you can sort of hear Cormier, like, in a way, coaching him. It sounded like his commentary was a bit like coaching or some tips that he'd given
He's talking about hip placement. And,
he was talking about a lot. So that's really stood out for me. And just with everything that's going on with Francis as well, who's the heavyweight, and potentially Tyson Fury.
Is that happening?
I think it could be. It could be, because like, he's threatening walking away and all. This is perfect for the UFC as well. Like, he's a fan favourite, not only here in Australia, he's becoming a superstar across the world. Everyone knows about the TUIVASAs now and all that sort of stuff. He's like, it's almost like the UFC want him to be the next star of the UFC. So
they're going to
it's exciting, man, for him. The sky's the limit at the moment for him.
They're going to put the Conor McGregor marketing rocket ships on Bam Bam now, because there will be a vacant title, and they're going to throw the big fella straight in there. And I know the purists will say you don't jump from 11 and get a title shot, but fuck all that. If you're knocking everyone out, you're the biggest star at the moment in that division. Obviously, Francis withstanding, I think they've got to throw him in. And I will just touch as well, obviously, Izzy, too good, got the dub against Lukey's boy Whittaker. Criticised a little bit for not putting him away, but I love what he said. If you want to beat the champ, man, come and get it. Izzy at this point in his career, the amazing thing with sport is we all remember the Conor McGregor come up. The come up was amazing. Same with Izzy. Izzy's at the top now, and he knows what he has to do to win. Yeah, maybe you want to see a spectacular highlight reel kick knockout. It speaks more to how good Whittaker is, but he's always, I think he won every round. I mean, you probably give Rob the last, but I think Izzy just did his thing, and the Glamour Olberg got the dub as well. Shout out Blood Diamond. I know the UFC debut didn't go as well as everyone thought for Blood, but he'll be back. He's a killer. So
even just on the Izzy stuff too, like, no one cares at the end of your career if you won in spectacular fashion.
Nah.
Izzy's doing what he has to do to win.
That Floyd Mayweather mentality.
And you're right.
He entertains.
That's all
he entertains out of the cage. That makes up for any perceived lack. I know it sounds ridiculous to say, because if you do enjoy fighting, you know what a fucking clinic that was.
Yeah,
but
and even the little subtleties for me are entertaining. So like, even when he's doing his kicks, or he gets a little jab, and Whittaker gets him a little touch, and he goes. Like, just that little shit, like,
he's an entertainer. Yeah,
mate, it was, and like you said, it's the respect that he had for Whittaker as well. It reminds me of the Romero fight as well, when people were pissed off with that. But like, why would you get into a fucking bang with Romero like Whittaker did, and you just be beaten up, when you can just stand there and he can win? Because like, at the end of the day, once you get that L on your fucking record, it's you got like 2 or 3 fights to get back up there and get amongst it. So
I remember, I'll swing this back around to footy. I remember 2008 with the World Cup, and the Kiwis played Australia, and this is when Australia were like dominant. And I remember our trainer talking about it, and Aussies were the champs, and the Kiwi boys done the haka, and then the Aussie boys tried to like walk up and go towards it as well. Yeah. And he goes, nah, like, we're the champs. We just sit back, you come to us. Yeah. So I always thought of that, and I always remembered that. And that's what it is. Someone's just got to go take it from them if they can.
Yeah, I mean,
hopefully not.
That's the golden rule in UFC. Like, especially in the fourth, fifth round, you got to take those fourth and fifth round. You got to like proper win it.
Hey, when you're looking good in the club, you let them come to you, Scope.
Yeah, baby.
And Reed's true, man. Scope's always looking good. A few performances of the night thrown out to the boys as well. So 50 G's in the bank. We love that. Speaking of performance, the performance package is available from Manscaped right now. The YKTR Sports Show is brought to you by Manscaped. Chuck in promo code ICE or SCOPE, SCOPE or ICE. Get 20% off plus free shipping. You get the Lawnmower 4.0. You get the crop preserver. You get the ball deodorant. You get it all Plus, they give you a few little extra gifts in their scope if you get the whole performance package.
They package it really, really
You
well.
get the
It's an
package,
experience, bro.
It's
It's an
legitimate.
experience.
Yeah, it's a mad
You get the
little
travel
package.
bag, so if you're heading away like Scope to knock out a triathlon or something and you just want to take something along with you,
Yeah.
that'll be
Bit of ball
coming.
deodorant.
Aerodynamics too, bro. Got to get rid of that hair. Like I'll be coming down the hill on the fucking bike.
Oh, you'll be slipstreamed.
I don't need any of this just slowing me down, baby. Better get that XL bike too. So shout out to someone that's gonna let me hire his fuck. I'm going all out, bro, because the boys are training that hard at the moment. So anything I can do to get a little advantage, Manscaped, grateful.
Bit of
How do you put on the ball deodorant? Is it like a spray
no,
or
I
a
can tell you right
powder?
now, it's almost like a moisturizer. It goes in your hands and then you just massage into your boys.
Shit, it's a good way to start the day, isn't
It's
it?
a great way to start the day. Actually freshens you right up. And Scope with the Lawnmower 4.0 goes from a large to an XL too. So there you go. Cup it down. Let's rip in. Should we break down our top four?
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, bro. We'll start with your boys, Scope, so we may as well start with you. Manly, off the back of the season of all seasons for Tommy Turbo. Plenty of boys sort of expect Manly to be there or thereabouts. I'll be interested to see where you expect them. But before we rip in, key games for Manly this year. They got my boy, Ethan Bullymore. You know I love me some Bullymore.
Yeah, I do like him.
He's good.
Key losses, Curtis Sirenen, Moses Sully, Jack Jasecki. I think that's right. Cade Cust, which is an absolute travesty that they let Cade Cust go, and Tavita Funa. Strengths, weaknesses, X Factor, one to watch. Scope, start with you on Manly. Strengths.
All right. This may be, I might be going a little bit out far wide for you here, but history has a way of repeating itself, right? So in 2007, before they won the grand final in 2008, they were embarrassed by the Melbourne Storm in the grand final 34-8. In 2010, they were embarrassed by the Dragons, who went on to win the comp 28-0. Last year, they were embarrassed. They were 36-16 to the South, but realistically, it was like 36-6, and they scored a couple of little tries. They were embarrassed. Desi has a way of turning those sorts of fucking losses. They're sort of building towards, what could be a big year, and they sort of get embarrassed in the finals, and it makes them come back stronger. The strength, and this is what we always talked about at Manly, was a backs against the wall mentality. So even though it was a successful year for most who may be fans, or if you're struggling to motivate your players, I reckon Desi will be leaning back on, we're not shit at the moment. Like, this is the type of feel that I get from the boys from over the years, is that even though the year was so good, they fucking flew home. They were beating teams for fun just before the finals. They were put to the sword by Melbourne Storm, really never in that game, and they'll put to the sword by South. So that's all the motivation they need for another big season. They get to start the season this year with Turbo. Hope you knock on wood, fucking knock on everything, boys. Make sure Turbo plays. He's in a good rhythm at the moment. He's not going to miss those first 4 or 5 games, make them 0-4, 0-5 to start the season. Therefore, they're chasing a season. I think they can set themselves up a little. I love their roster. I love everything about them. I love the way they finish. I love the mentality that they'll go through this year. So I think, they're a genuine threat to finish, for me, 1 or 2 this year, to set themselves up in a better position to take on the finals this year. So.
All right. Isaac Johns.
Very biased there. Very biased there.
Yeah, it sounded like me talking about the Wires. Fucking hell.
Strengths for me, Manly, they get bang for buck for players that aren't in their top 3 players. Obviously, you got your Tommies, Jakey, and DCE. They're your main guys, but they've always been able to get the best out of people, and they probably play above their pay packet as well. So you look at their 2 centre pairings, you look at their wingers. I feel like you can get those guys pretty cheap, or they've come there for opportunities and really shine. So they've always been able to do that. I don't know why, Scope, and I think Melbourne are very similar. But you have to, when you've got your superstars and they're all worth $1 million. DCE's on $1 million. Tommy's worth 1.5 probably. Jakey's worth close to $1 million as well. You have to get those supporting players to do a job. I don't know why, but they're able to do that.
They've just always had a strong core. They've always had a good, strong. At the moment, they've got a strong core of if you could. If you're developing a team, you've got to pay. You've paid a lot of money for guys like Turbo, Jakey, and Ches. But that's a good 3 to start, and then just fucking find. There are so many. The difference between some teams is they just don't have any star power. We've talked about it before with other teams.
Talent matters.
You look around in the locker room and players that people have always talked about. Cam Smith like that. No matter what, who gives a fuck who they put with Melbourne at one point? If you look in the locker room, you got Cam, Billy, and fucking Cooper. If I feel like you could put fucking 14 Justin Horros and be a chance with those three, you know what I mean? Like, and that's
Get Jacko in the back row,
and that's bagging myself, by the way, as well. Yeah, like they've always had a core. We were blessed during my time that we had about 6 or 7.
You said the core of core, right?
The core of core, and they were all on a lot
all
less
playing
contract.
above their work.
Yeah, they were on less. Like they had this. They come through together. They stuck together. They probably took less than what they could have got at other clubs. So I guess that's why they've always had a strong core. Like since even before my time, even going back to like if you think of Cliffy, Tooves, Beaver, like they've always had like star power there on the Northern Beaches.
Do you know what the one thing about Manly that I've always loved, and I've talked about this multiple times? They're not scared to play football. Don't matter if they're behind by 8, behind by 16, up by 2. If there's something on, they'll pass the ball. And I remember Ivan brought that up, told me about that. And ever since I've watched that, since like the Cliffy Lions, when I go back, because he talked about Cliffy Lions back in the day when he was playing there, all the way through, they've never been scared to throw footy, and it's enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, in their DNA. What about weaknesses, Scope? Are you going to be able to find one for the Bird game?
Yeah, I'm not like you. I can. This is where me and you differentiate. Like I can find weaknesses, and my big one is I talked about those losses. They failed the acid test when it got to. They didn't really beat any top 4 teams last year. I know at the start of the year they played a few of those top 4 teams while Turbo was out, but I wanted to see.
I don't think they beat a top 4 team all year at all.
Yeah. And they were close to Penrith a couple of times, which I was trying to latch onto the back end of the season to see if they could go any further. But at the moment, they haven't. They haven't beaten a top 4 side. They failed the acid test in terms of. I thought I put them down as their front runners, and they had no significant wins. Like they're front runners. They picked on the easy teams, and once it comes to the top teams, they won't ever get the job done. So I'm excited. Like even though I talked about what they could become this year, they haven't proven it yet. But I think they can, and I just want to see them. It'll be a good start of the year too, because they've got a few of the big dogs nice and early. So if they can come out of the first 4 or 5 games,
The Penrith one's interesting.
yeah, Penrith. I think they played the Roosters in the first 5 weeks as well. The second week, the Roosters. So
Yeah.
grouse.
Good.
Oh, and 2.
Yeah.
The boys.
What about weaknesses for you, Ice?
Time. They're running out of it. They have to win a comp, in my opinion, this year. And you got DCE, he's 32. Fozzie's like a little bit older as well. You need those guys in the team. And like a lot of people will say, Schuster's just going to come in and take over Fozzie. I disagree with that comment. But the important thing about experience, and the biggest example I can give is Cooper Cronk in the grand final. Like if you looked at him stat-wise, done nothing. But a lot of the things about experience is knowing what to say at the right time. And when everyone's under pressure, and when you've got young, talented back rowers who are used to doing great things, the right conversation at the right time is more important than stats, in my opinion. So they're running out of time. They've got Tommy at his peak right now. I don't think he's ever going to get any better than what he did last year. He could probably equal that.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'm wrong. But DCE and Fozzie are running out of time, and
Can't even fathom what it would look like if Tommy was to go better this year.
he could.
I'll see how he goes
bro.
better. 5 more games, he goes better.
Yeah, agree.
I'm telling you, he can go.
More Dally M points than he had last year. Yeah.
That's a good point. That's a great point.
It's now or never.
Do you put the premiership window as at 2022?
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Weaknesses, Scope? I mean, rather, yeah.
X Factor?
Sorry, thanks, guys.
There's a guy called, we've mentioned his name already, Tom Travojevic. He plays for Manly. So if I was thinking about someone just a little bit left to centre, I was like, fuck, you know what? At the end of the day, the team runs through Tommy, and the way, I think this year in particular, he's got to go away and watch a lot of film on Melbourne and figure out how they were able to neutralise him, or what other ways he can affect the game when they come for him. So is that using himself as like a decoy at points because he wants to be so much.
Give me the ball, yeah.
He's still young in his career in a sense that, like, even though he's a beast in what he's done in the game, you can affect the games in other ways. You know, you getting at points you could see him where, and teams would say it as well. They'd fucking, all right, Tommy's shaping up from a 6-4 split, which means there's going to be 6 defenders to the right, 4 defenders to the left, and you got the fullback who normally will jump in and defend in the middle, but they might send the extra defender to the 6, so they might have like a 7-3 split, and the fullback will sit down the short side. The team's got to be able to take advantage of that. And Ches did it a few times, and it helps with maybe having more of a strike centre, which I'll get to as well. But when things aren't going right for Turbo, I think this will be a big part of, like, how can he how can he figure out to affect the game without
touching the ball?
That's my big thing for him. But at the end of the day, when he's on, everyone's humming, and it's like he's the X factor.
I remember Ivan brought up a stat one time when we were playing football. He goes, like, the average person in an NRL game touches the ball about 90 seconds a game. So you think there's an 80-minute game, so everything else you do is off the ball. And Michael Jordan talks about, I could create all my shots for my movements off the ball. X factor for me, the back row pairing, and I'm rolling off the back of Scopes. I didn't plan on this, but using Tommy as a decoy as well. So when you've got Fozzie digging deep into the line, when you got DCE digging deep into the line, and everyone's looking out the back at Tommy, the big superstar, 6'4", I can't stop him. I think there's plenty of opportunity there for the back rows, and they're both wonderfully talented as well. Different looks. We always talk about this, different styles. You got Schuster's got the offloader, got Ola Kawatu run over the top of you and offload and put a grubber through. They're probably my favourite pairing of back rowers in the comp. They just look different.
Yeah.
But I love them, and they're young and they're talented and they're fucking confident. I love it.
I love it. I also love Carl Lawton's sliding in there as well.
Yeah, he's good. You need the little balance. The Jamie Bureau, the Louis Brown.
Yeah, they've got Jamie Bureau and Louis Brown with they'll have D Walks and Carlos coming off the bench. So
speed.
Yeah,
one of the most underrated haircuts in the NRL too. Carl Lawton at the moment running the Mully. One to watch.
I'm excited about this one, man. Excited about this. We even if you follow our mate Kempy, a bloke in a bar, he posted it on his account last night. Was it a New South Wales? Was it a trial? Or was it a New South Wales game? Game from last year, or SG Ball game from last year? Tolu, because it's spelled a little bit different. Because I used to have a ex teammate Talima Tautai. This one is Tolu Tau Kola. I even hit him up. I've been in contact with him. I'm excited about him.
Might be getting a little rinse stew number soon as well.
Yeah, might be some rinse stew. You know, if he does that in fucking round 1 against the Panthers and round 2 against the Roosters, that's coming your way, baby. Rinse stew. But yeah, I'm excited about him. I've seen it. So the way he hit my radar, I didn't know much about him before this year. They just posted a picture of him on the account, and then obviously we're in a group chat with Chaz. I go, Chaz, who's this cunt? Like, he looks like a beast. And you know, Chaz is fucking diplomatic as, especially when you ask him about when it comes to footy. I can message boys. I go, give us a little bit of info on this. And Chaz is so fucking easy, mate. He gives you
lame like that.
Yeah. He'll give you the fucking diplomatic answers, and he's keeping under it, mate. We're excited, you know. He doesn't really give you too much, so that makes me think that he's going to be pretty good.
Yeah,
that's when
that's the more than Chiz ever gives away, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'm excited for him. I think he's going to be a real player to watch. He's going to put a lot of pressure on two. I talked about two really solid centres, done a really good job. Morgan Harper, the Paul Cleaner, who looked good in the New Zealand Multi games too.
Yeah, Tunga
just like. Physically as well, I like the way you thought like me. And you
physically, he always matches up well, doesn't he?
Yeah, but we're just talking about bigger. He looked a little bit.
I guess unless he's getting against Justin Olam, he was scared as that game.
Yeah. Well, come on,
as you would be. I don't
know. I think all the Manly boys looked awful against Melbourne. But yeah, so I think he might put a bit of pressure on the outside backs, and I think that'll be good.
How's your boy Georgie Tafua tracking?
See, this is. Obviously, playing with Georgie, I'd love to see. I think Georgie would be perfect for this team right now as well. I thought about putting it down just in sense of like saving energy for Turbo. So one of the biggest things I thought Melbourne did to neutralise Turbo was they bashed him on plays 1 and 2.
Yeah,
they really got in his face whenever he tried to come in and take a yardage carry. And this is what I love Gary and Sub. He can be. He's lightning quick and one of the best finishers. I thought in the finals time they could have really used a guy like Georgie, because what Georgie does is take that shit carry that no one else wants to take, and not only turns it from a shit carry into a fucking lands on his front and gets a quick play of the ball. That then opens it up. If you get fucking half a quick play of the ball for Turbo, I thought that's something that they were really lacking, and that's why at one point, leading into the back end of the season, I was pushing for a guy like Moses Sully.
Yeah.
Just because...
Just a point of difference.
Just a point of difference. And then there was no one really out of those back two. In the attacking zone, Gary and fucking Saab were unreal.
Yeah.
But when in yardage, they were sort of just lacking a little bit in that sense. And that's why I felt like Turbo sort of got himself in there a little bit more often. Whereas if you got like a battering ram like Georgie, he could have been really handy for him, but he re-signed and they kept him on. So who knows? Maybe he gets a chance to compete for it this year, or if something happens to the boys, he gets in for another opportunity. I hope he does, man. I love my boy Georgie.
one to watch for you, Isaac?
Yeah, look, I was looking at a couple. I was looking at Manasseh's little brother as well. He signed that massive contract, but I don't want to gas him up too early. I'm looking straight at the captain, for DCE. Like I said a little bit earlier, he's running out of time. I think he's looking over the like, if you know DCE, he's one person that actually really cares about football. He really cares about Manly, he really cares about winning, and he prepares that way to do it. But I think he's looking over at sort of like Nathan Cleary, and he's getting in all the sort of light. He won't say anything because he's very diplomatic, but I think he's going, fuck, I've got a bit of a chip on my shoulder. I need to be playing well for here, and I need to be playing well for the Maroons because we're in a bit of trouble right now. And his Australian jersey's up for grabs right now.
Yeah.
He's the incumbent, number 7 right now. But if they were to pick a team, Nathan would probably get the jump on him. He won't say it, but he cares about it.
100% that shit motivates him. He's
Fucking
a weirdo.
if it does.
He's one of those, like, he watches all the motivational fucking Jordan docos and draws fucking
Inspiration from that,
inspiration and motivation.
Everything
from
that Ches does in life is tailored towards trying to win football games. Everything.
Yeah.
Trust me. We know him. Yeah. And he won't say it on camera, but trust me, he fucking cares.
Yeah, he's like
which is refreshing. Cause
it's mad.
When you're in footy, you're like, fuck it.
Because we're knockabouts, we're journeymen as well. So sometimes,
just pumped to get picked,
And then also, like, wanted to have a beer with him, and the way he like locks down, like you want to sort of have those sort of like, and he'll come, mate, we've got a fucking short turnaround or something like that. And you're like,
it's November.
Come over. We haven't seen you in 6 months. Just come and have a beer. But you bring up a good point, and the point about, and I'm telling you 100%, I've never spoken to this about this, but they're signing some veterans up at Redcliffe.
He's from Reddy.
He's from up around that way. I wouldn't be surprised if they come knocking and go, if you can establish, just say if you get your superstar, and even though he's 32, Ches is in the shape of his life, I'd still take him over and everyone but Nath in terms of halfbacks. Just trying to, or maybe Hughesy, Jerome's, because Jerome's a little bit younger. But even then I'd probably still take Ches.
He's top 3.
Yeah, he's definitely top 3. But if you're rebuilding a club, you're still going to get 3 or 4 years out of Ches. Ches ain't stopping, like, because he's so anal with his preparation and what he does in the off season and the way he takes games.
He's not slowing down.
He ain't slowing down. Like, he ain't going to be like, he'll have.
And he's ridiculous fit as well, bro.
Yeah.
And he started fast as well. So even if you do lose a touch of speed, he's still quicker than most.
Yeah,
and because he's fit and because he can anticipate line breaks and stuff as well.
He's always pushing up,
He's always there, bro. Him and Tommy are always there. They learn it from Snake and Gutho's like a really good guy. They just know how to push up those Manly boys. And when you can anticipate, it counteracts speed. So he's got that great game awareness.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate too, like, obviously, because sometimes people we're mates with Ches. He's never said anything about this, but if I was Redcliffe, I'm looking.
Having a crack,
I thought about this a couple of weeks ago and I forgot to mention it. So I thought, if I was Redcliffe, like, I was looking at a few of the people who were off, like him or Fozzie. Or Fozzie, like getting a veteran presence up there in the halves, because they've got veterans in the forwards. I'd maybe attack a young superstar like Kalen or Walshy to be that fucking the face of it, and then you just get a nice calm vet in halves, because that's what they're going to need as well. Whether it's Cody Walker as well, I'd imagine Cody Walker would be an option as well, the Wayne Bennett connection and stuff like that. Foz, Ches, Cody Walker, someone like that would be ideal for Redcliffe.
I like it.
I love it. All right, speaking of Cody Walker, let's move on to South Sydney. GF last year, unreal year. I don't know whether you say overachieved, because they obviously had a stacked side, but fell just short. They are obviously losing some big fish with the coach and their halfback moving on. But here we go. Key gains for South. They've picked up your boy, Saliva Havili and Michael Cheekam. Key losses, Adam Reynolds, Jaden Sewer, Benji, Dane Gagai, Braden Burns, Telltale Moga. Strengths for you, Ice. We'll start with you in this one, bro.
Got points in them. And Scope sort of touched on earlier, you need talented players to win competitions, no matter where you are. Looked at the LA Rams, they're stacked full of it. I like them. I like them because they can score points from, and their shape is to the left is always the hardest to stop as well. So a team that's got Cody Walker in the prime of his career that can score points, that's the strength for me, honestly.
Scope, strengths for South Sydney.
I have South. They're my team to drop out of the top 4, because I've talked about Para coming in, I've talked about Roosters coming in. I've written down, I don't think the top 6 changes. I don't think it's going to be by fucking a shitload. I don't think, I made that statement again, like Roosters dropping off. I don't think it's going to be a dramatic fall off. But being there, done that. They've got a fair bit of finals experience, although they've lost a key the skipper and coach. Cody Walker has been there. Like, South have been knocking on the door. They lost the grand final. They lost a couple of prelims. So many of those players are still part of the squad. They've been there, done that. The forward pack.
It's a now or never for them as well.
Skipper Cameron Murray, like, maybe not. Like, they're in a mini rebuild in a way. With like it depends on what the coach does. We'll see how, because he's been in the system, so it might just they've just got to. It'll depend on how they unlock the halves position with how they like this Lockie Elias, who looks like becoming the 7, or is it if
Taff.
it's Blake Taff? When Latrell
He's
comes
a good
back
kid,
after
that
week
Blake
1.
Taff.
He's a weapon, bro. I like
He's
him.
so nice.
Is he?
Yeah. Not a touch of arrogance about him.
Just in have you met him?
Yeah,
oh, yeah,
cool,
grouse.
bro. Cool dude.
Yeah, so they've just got a lot of been there, done there, so close. Like they're just one of those teams that's just knocking on the door. Just got to take the next step.
Yeah, I got them falling just out of the top 4 too, but they'll be there thereabouts. Yeah.
I think they'll start this season slow.
Yeah.
Just get used to no Ran, bit of adversity, fucking no Wayne. Everyone, are they up to it? I think they're one of those teams that'll be flying at the back end of the season, but maybe just miss out in the top 4.
Ice weaknesses.
Adam Reynolds leaving, for me, it's just clearly obvious. The great thing about Reynolds, and he's a positive for Broncos, he kicks you into games and he kicks you into opportunities to give a chance. And one time he went off the field. I think he hurt his knee for something for 20 minutes. I felt like their whole attack just crumbled. Yeah, he come back on late and it just unlocked Cody Walker.
That was the Roosters game.
Yeah.
And how wonderfully talented Cody Walker is. You can put pressure on him. So when he threw that pass in the GF, obviously the biggest stage you can throw, he got up and he's trying to fight Nathan Cleary. Like you can get underneath Cody Walker's skin. And when he's the main guy now, so the thing about the kicking game that I'm going to bring up, Cody Walker's going to have to do a lot of the kicking. Damien Cook isn't he can kick a ball for you, but he's not like
a noted
kicker. He's not like a Cameron Smith. Latrell can put up a bomb, or he's got distance. But just strategy and planning around kicking, there's an art form to it. And you'd see someone like Jamie Salwood at training, he'd kick and you'd think he'd landed on the mark all the time. It wasn't always the case. But in the game, he just knew how to get himself into positions to kick the ball well. And what he used to say that Gus Gould used to tell him is, you're a halfback, you got 5 tackles to do your job.
Yeah.
And that's how Jamie Salwood used to see kicking. And that's what Adam Reynolds can do. And I think Cody Walker, whenever you kick, he'll end up on the ground. So he'll put up a bomb, someone will tackle him, put him on the ground. I think it starts to frustrate him. And when he gets frustrated, I think he lets his sort of emotions pick his passes and he'll try and chase points and stuff. So it's as wonderfully talented as Cody Walker is, I think Adam Reynolds leaving is going to be a massive weakness for him.
Yeah. We saw Sowie at the All-Stars game, actually, Ice. Bumped into him in the old corporate suites there doing his thing.
The chow.
Yeah. Weaknesses scope for Souths.
Yeah, similar to Ice and what I said about the Roosters, but it's a little bit different to the Roosters. The loss of leadership and the loss of 2 key people in particular. I thought, obviously, the skipper moves on.
Yeah.
But the thing that you don't worry about is with the Roosters is they haven't lost Robbo.
Yeah.
Souths have lost Wayne.
JD's got some raps about him, eh? Have you?
They do.
Yeah,
they do. So that's not a knock on. Sometimes we hear things when we sort of talk down coaches. There's nothing on JD here. See, we're even mates. Fucking nickname, little fucking. It still will take an adjustment. I think the pressure will be on early on, and how, despite how good of a coach you are, assistant coach or around the boys, when you feel the acid test of being the fucking Rabbitohs coach, which is
you got to win, eh?
One of the bigger roles. There's expected success there in the last 5 or 6 years, and they're a bit different to the Roosters, and they didn't blood. We didn't really get to see. Lockie Elias played 1 game against the Dragons. Blake Taff played fullback in place of Latrell basically when he played, whereas because they had Uncle Benji there. Uncle Benji was on the bench. They lose him. They lose his. People have not really talking about that at all. He's another leader. Jaden Sewer, he's another leader of, he was their enforcer.
Gagai as well,
defensively. Gags in the outside centre. So it's going to take an adjustment. I wrote down that they didn't really blood anyone like the Roosters did last year. Roosters did it out of necessity because they had so many injuries, which ended up be.
But it serves them better for this year.
Yeah, they'll be. Yeah, like you said. But I just didn't think they had the opportunity. They didn't blood anyone last year, so it's going to take an adjustment. I reckon they could be like a 3 from 6. I can see them going 3 from 6 until they find their, especially with Latrell missing round 1. So, they might take a while to adjust, but like I said, I think they'll come home strong.
X Factor Isaac.
Latrell. Yeah. All right, my opinion, my fuck all opinion, it doesn't really matter. I think if Latrell plays the GF, I think Souths win.
Interesting.
Agree?
No. I think Nath still finds a way, but I get he is a giant piece of that puzzle.
Nah, I like
the biggest piece. Yeah,
I like Latrell there. I think he's going to come back super determined. I put him in the same talent category as Tommy Turbo, and the reason I think Tommy Turbo cares like probably
Yeah.
like wants to win a little bit more. I think Latrell's right up there in terms of talent. When you look at them in Origin, they're the two guys that you just give the ball. And in our biggest spectacle, in our biggest game that we have, they fucking stick out.
Yeah.
They shine. So I think Latrell coming back. I think his brother's there is like a little bit of added motivation.
Yeah, that's cool.
I think
he went all right as well on Saturday.
Yeah, he went good. He went good. But I think with Latrell there, and he's got a bit of family there, and it just has to be him. I honestly reckon if he plays the GF, they win.
Interesting. You know, he's it's not even a smoky because he could do it every year, but I think he's a big Dally M chance this year as well, Latrell, if he stays on the field.
How long till he gets back in?
He's 2 weeks, isn't he? It's only 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I think. Because he can play the Charity Shield anyway, so get a bit of footy under him. And then,
No, just 1 week.
Oh.
1 week.
Oh, he only
missed the
missed
first
the first
week. I
week?
believe it's only 1 week.
Because he missed all the whole final series, eh?
Yeah, okay, cool.
Just one game too short.
Yeah, I think he's my Dally M pick, but we'll get to that later on. Next week, yeah.
I've got a funny story, but I can't tell it.
About Latrell. X Factor scope.
Campbell Graham. I think he's one of the more slept on players in the NRL.
Bro, he's fucking huge, bro. He's one of the biggest dudes I've ever seen.
Yeah. I think he's going to be nice this year. Gags moves on.
He must live around here because he always knocks about nutrition station and that by
Is he taller than the building?
Yeah, by
he's huge.
Nathan Brown's gym. Yeah,
I take notice of like the way that players
he's single now too, so he'd be
distracted.
No. He's trying.
It could be my weakness now. I take notice of things like on social media and the way they interact with players are important. So he seems like a bit of a weirdo, but a good weirdo. I reckon down like a good weirdo. Like Latrell films him walking in. He's got like this kit on. He's like feeling himself. He's doesn't really give too much. Guys like that, like people really love him, and they gravitates is the word. I think Campbell Graham has been unreal, but because that left side has been so strong, you sort of don't realise, man. Campbell Graham was scoring tries for fun.
You liked him anytime last year a lot.
He was about 250 at the best. Yeah. So that was overs. I wonder if, for me, sometimes I just want to get, unless they're out and out, I'm not too sure, because I know he come off the wing and he was sort of like a plug-in guy. I wonder if he can play left centre. I wonder if they'll flip him over, because I want to see if Cody Walker is going to be predominantly
different game entirely, but I think was it the Nines World Cup, because he made the Australian side and he played on the left and was fucking
lovely.
No. Do you know how I know this, bro? Because
I know Nines is different.
We had him as I had him as last try scorer one time, and he scored it on the left side. And I remember watching it down at the Newmarket. I've seen him play there.
All right, so and I've got no idea about whether this will happen, but flip him over to the left, put him on that fucking lethal left side, and then
Cody Walker, Latrell, and Campbell Graham running over the top of you.
Alex Johnston.
You've got to be 7 foot to tackle him.
Yeah. I'm excited for him. I think he could be their X factor this year, just because of a couple of people that have moved on, in particular Dane Gagai, and whether he can take that vital left centre spot.
Love that. One to watch, Ice for Souths.
I'm going straight. Like, I love sort of leaning back on veterans. I think Damien Cook. I think when for all the new rules that come in, everyone just goes, "Oh, Cookie's going to kill it. Cookie's going to kill it." I feel like he ran more, and when the game was like a little bit slower. But I think with Adam Reynolds leaving out, and I know I said this is a weakness, I think he sees a lot more opportunity as well. Because when you watch the boys play, like Adam would always be calling the ball, Cody's always calling the ball as well. So yeah, I think Damien Cook starts to run, and I think he gets back to right up there with his best. Yeah, and he's really good in big games. Like, I love Damien Cook in big games. New South Wales, he's good. I think he's starting to look over his shoulder at someone like Uppy Coruscant, who's got the connection with Nathan and Jerome for a New South Wales spot. And much like DCE, I think Cookie's starting to look over his shoulder like a little bit. So yeah, he's wonderfully talented, and I love when he runs.
Train with him in the down at Reborn, haven't you?
Yeah, he pays
he's
his
good,
rent.
bro.
He pays his rent, bro. He's a fucking machine.
What about one to watch for you, Scott?
Lockie Elias.
Love that.
The rumour coming out of South's camp is that. Can't give away my mail, yeah? Hey, I've got good sources. Put it this way. Lockie Elias is favoured to be the halves partner of Cody coming out of South camp, and he's only played one game, so let's see what he's about, man. It's fucking massive shoes, because
the biggest shoes.
The biggest goal kicking shoes that you can fit yourself into.
Does he kick goals as well, does he?
Nah, just because of Reynolds going. Probably Latrell will probably kick, because Latrell kicks at a high click as well, man. They're so blessed. Someone else kicks for him as well.
I think no one kicks the ball harder than Latrell and Paddy Herbert when they're kicking goals. Like, they just smack the shit out of it.
Yeah, so
put it in the third.
Michael Witt. He used to try and smack him, eh?
Bro, you're right in front, relax.
And the thing is, like, not only of what Ren does on the field, but how loved and respected Ren is in the community. He's South
Mr.
through
South,
South Junior. So it's big shoes to fill, man. Let's see if Lockie can fit them.
Love that. All right, let's move on to the mighty Penrith Panthers, defending champs, best in the business. Yeah, they lost some talent. That's obviously going to happen as this core group of young guys rolls through, but they've kept their core intact. So key gains for the Panthers this year, Christian Crichton and Mutters, Shawnee O'Sullivan, jumping over there from the Wires, add a bit of depth. Obviously losses, they've lost Matt Burton, Kurt Capewell, Paul Momorowski, Brent Naden, Tavita Pangai Jr., who's obviously only there at the back end, and Tyron May. So they have lost a little bit, but they're still the Panthers. They still got your boy Ivan. Strengths for you, Ice.
Culture. I know I talk about this a lot, and I think it's really important within business and in sports. And they've got the opportunity right now to be the... You know, we talk about the Storm and we talk about Melbourne. They have the chance right now to build sustained success. And then they're going to win comps every single year, but they're going to put themselves in the conversation. And it's built around being, like, there's never been cooler to be from Western Sydney. Like, you got 1-4 coming from there. You got Ty repping it on the world stage. You got people shouting out Kingswood Pub on UFC commentary, like shit like that. That
Scope at YKTR Sports.
Scope at YKTR Sports.
Don't sleep on that, baby.
And now you've got the defending champs of the NRL from there. So they've got a chance to build something that can build legacy for a long, long time. And I think Ivan, the way I kind of know him, I think he'll be leaning on that as not, I wouldn't say like it's a marketing ploy, but he'll be leaning into that for like, we can build something that lasts forever around here. And they have. Yeah. And they can do that again. And what they're going to be doing now, though, and someone like Jerome Luai and Brian Tall, they'll be going, oh, these are these kids that are looking up to there instead of looking at the rough side of Western Sydney. They're like, maybe I can take this path now because I've got someone I can align myself to. Someone I can be like. Yeah. He looks like me. He goes to the same church as me. I cross paths with him down at the bakery. Yeah. Like, stuff like that matters, bro. And they got a chance to build something, sustain success. And I know Ivan will be leaning to something like that for sure.
Strengths for you for the defending champs?
The best 1 to 17 in the league still. Thing is, their faves to go back to back. Hasn't been any noise about them. Like, no one's really talking about them. They're just doing their shit, going under the radar. There's not
really much you can talk about.
I've loves being low key. Nave's low key.
Like you think, even when teams win, they celebrate. Like, fuck, when Storm won the year before, Cheese is going out doing this thing, Prez is out doing this thing. Panthers just won the comp and went quiet.
Yeah.
Like, it was fucking, and that's perfect. Like,
they broke the trophy, didn't they?
Oh, yeah, the trophy was, that happens. That's fucking on top of a bus. But yeah, they sort of just gone about their business, get back into preseason. All the boys have had fucking no dramas about the Panthers.
Oh, poor dude, he's got nothing to do out there, that's why.
Yeah, if you're Ivan or you're in that front office, they've had the perfect off season. No one's talking about them. They're going under the radar again. Not under the radar, but they're the best team, and it's just been nice and quiet. I like it.
Let's try to find a weakness for the Premier's, Ice.
Fatigue. They're the side now that everyone looks forward to playing. They're the side that when you look at your roster, you're like, when are we taking on the Panthers? And when you're the side and you're the defending champions, everyone gets up to play you. And sometimes, like, even coaches say this as well, like, we'll get through this game and then we've got a big challenge next week. So make sure we're preparing well. So that's important. They've been back-to-back grand finals. Nathan starts playing every Origin now, so he starts to collect games and he's good enough to do it, and he actually cares. And they're going to have 5-6 people that are in Origin now. So that middle part of the season, they're going to start to get a little bit tired. Do they drop a few points there? Good chance, good thing for them. They've got a great nursery where anyone that comes in seems to kill it for them for some reason because they're so used to winning. But man, 3 years on the trot now, it's starting to you get round 10 Cronulla, you get round 10 down in Canberra. They're good enough, they're talented enough to get those wins and stuff, but it starts to become a bit of a drain.
LeBron James, Steph Curry, those guys always talk about, like, the hardest part about repeating is you become the hunted. Like, it's no longer this grind about, and you guys know that obviously playing footy your whole lives, but like, it's a different beast when every single week, when it is, like you said, round 6 at Leichhardt on a Sunday, and the Tigers really get up for it. You're like, fuck, boys. Just relax.
The year before, they're going, bro, we're this close to winning.
There's your motivation.
There's our motivation every single day. Like, these guys are bagging us. They said we couldn't win. Yeah. Now they've won. Like, going back to back's cool, but it's not the same. It's a different type of motivation.
I'll give you an example, Jack. Going back to the Para days, when we were at Para, we went all right against Manly and Melbourne shit, and then we'd get held up by Tigers who would like 10. Like, it was weird, like, because we just like,
you get up for the big games.
Fuck, it's going to be a big game. Like, if we can beat this team, it's sort of like that. And then obviously I felt it on the other side of it playing at Manly.
Weaknesses, scope.
I I've written down they just lost both centres and their backup centre for last year. So from 1 to 17, I think they'll be fine in terms of like Stephen Crichton will jump in. But obviously they lose Burton, who was centre of the year team in the Daly M team. Momorowski, who we've talked about, who will be a nice addition to the Roosters. They let him go to the Roosters early, and Brent Naden had already gone halfway through the year to the Dogs and signed at the Dogs, who was their backup centre. Yeah. So, just the intriguing battle for who's going to take.
One of those young boys is going to come in, yeah.
Best thing, Ice talked about it, there's a nursery out there of outside backs in Western Sydney, and Ice will bring up a name that I already knew about as well. But, he looks like he could fill that spot. But, it's a little bit concerning to lose, some teams lose because you lose Dane Gagai. You're at the Rabbitohs. You still got Campbell Graham, who's been there and done that. He can sort of teach the other centre that comes through. The fact that they lost all three starting centres is a bit of a concern for me, but
potential weakness.
I was trying to find some weaknesses. Really.
I couldn't find one. X Factor, Isaac.
Nath. You don't have to sugarcoat X Factors or anything like this. He's the guy. He's the best player. Him and Tommy, side by side, best players in the game. I think Nathan's like a little bit different because he has to influence, because he's at a 7-1, very different roles, but just has to be him. And I forgot where I saw it. I think they've seen the stats of him versus Joey at the same age. Yeah. He's done more than Joey, the greatest in my eyes. So he's on track to be one of the greatest. I think he cares about legacy. Much like Cherry Evans, he cares about winning, and all his preparation leans towards that. It has to be Nathan. If he goes down, later bolt.
May I throw my X Factor in just quickly here?
Fuck you, may.
It's just off the back of that, because I'm going to go as Haas partner. I think Jerome Luai, like the 2020, when they were absolutely killing it and Jerome was lighting the world on fire. I felt like last year, not he took a step backwards, but I think the way they were playing, whether it was the Matt Burton effect or the way they were playing, you probably be able to speak to it better. He didn't have to do as much. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's a really good point. But that's a sign of a matured half. Yeah, so when he's young and talented and he can step and do all that pretty shit, that's cool and it looks cool on TV and it feels like you're doing more. But when you look to your left and you got Matty Burton who's on fire and William and Kikau, bro, sometimes the best thing to do as a half is catch and just give those guys the ball. And he can still do that stuff. So there was times where when the game was on a line, he was taking them on, offload to Nathan Cleary and he scores the winning try.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't have to have as many touches, but they're more quality touches.
Yeah, well, that's kind of exactly why I think he's going to be the X Factor this year. I think he blends those two seasons. I think he takes the highlight reel, steppy, glossy 2020 shit mixed with the balance of last year, and I think you have an unreal season from Jerome. But
you look to the left and you got Kikau for one more year, and you're like, fuck, let me just use this dude up as much as possible.
Drop him under.
Yeah, it says a lot about his ego to be able to take a back
step. Yeah, it wasn't a back seat, but you know what I mean.
No, but you know who I reckon was massive for him? His roomie in New Zealand Māori camp last year, Uncle Benji.
Yeah.
I think Uncle Benji had a bit of a word to him. I know that for a fact. I spoke to him a little bit at the start of the season. We didn't get him for a podcast, but I know he was a heavy influence on Jerome's mindset for that season. So.
I think he spoke a little bit on when he did Kimpy's pod. He spoke a little bit about just rubbing shoulders with Benji and how much that meant to him. So,
Grouse.
Yeah.
There you go.
X Factor Scope. Sorry for jumping in there. Where you go?
That's all right, mate. It was the same because I was thought about Jerome as well, being my guy, but the Prince of Penny, it all runs through him. If I talked about it, if I could produce a rugby league player, if you play games, you play Madden or whatever.
Build your character.
For fullback, it's an uninjured Tommy Turbo. Yeah. You've got to fucking boost his health up to fucking 99. But there's nothing in Nathan's game that I wouldn't want in a half.
Yeah.
What's the 1 week? Yeah, he was a little bit banged up last year, but he's played fucking nearly 150 games or something.
He's still defended sweet.
And he's a mad defender, great leader, humble, quick, says all the right things, loves all the boys.
Boys love
him. Kicks well. Boys love him.
He's a bit of a media darling too, which helps.
Yeah, exactly. Good looking dude. Yeah. What else? Like he ticks all the boxes. Like
and he's a coach's son. Fuck's sake, he's got everything.
And he's got a mad footy mind. Like when we did the potty with him, I asked him a question. I was like, man, do you ever just sit down with your dad away from footy and just and watch footy? He goes, that's a hard thing for him sometimes too. Like they'll sit there and they'll be watching a game and talking about like footy, like when it's just supposed to be family time.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Where you can't. Like sometimes he wants to separate that because, but that's fucking another. Like you said, that's a benefit. Being able to have your dad as coach and talk footy and talk game planning all the time, 24/7.
All right, guys. YKTR Sports, very excited about this one. One to watch. Where are we going?
Isaac Tungle.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I like him. I think he locks up that centre spot as well. But I watched him last year when he come on, and he remind me, and I'm not going to say he's going to be as good as this dude, but Katoni Staggs. When Katoni Staggs first come onto the scene, he'd kind of plug in at centre or jump on the bench, and like he should come in and make an impact. He's not that big. I was looking at his stats. I think he's like 92, 183.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
so like he's not going to have the physical presence of Katoni Stagg, but he does have like, he's a strong 92. Like not all 92s are the same.
They got him 6 foot on the dot with 93 kilos.
Oh, 93. So and like
not crazy.
19,
Not crazy,
19.
but
He's 19.
19, but fucking strong. So I like him. He comes into contact. He looks for contacts. He looks to make an impact, and just gave me that Katoni sort of vibe very early on. So he's in the best system. He's going to get some very clean ball, and you're going to see the best of him, I reckon.
I think
And a great first name too. Spelled a little bit different, but
yeah,
great first
love
name.
that. Nickname Tags, I think is his nickname.
He's Samoan Tungle.
It'd sound like Tagsy. I'd
Yeah.
call him Tags if I was there.
Yeah. Even Caleb, who's obviously was in and around that system coming through, he was, even last year, he was saying, bro, this guy's on another planet to all those amazing juniors that they've got coming through there. He goes, Isaac's by far and away the best they've got there. So, and that's from a kid that was in the building. So, Scope, you.
I got myself a bit of a veteran, a bit of an ex-Westie, I believe. He might have been around your time. Chris Smith went to the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
I like him. I think, he's had a couple of really bad injuries in the last couple of years. One stands out in the Indigenous All-Star game 2 years ago when he did his ACL, which was sad. But there's a role on that bench for him, I think. He comes back in. Ivan would have brought him back for a reason. Tyrone May heads over to the Catalan Dragons. Probably Mitch Kenny will come onto the bench and play that 14 role, but he's a bit versatile. He's got a nice little bit of skill about him. He can play middle back row, playing an edge. You could even put him in front row for a pinch. I think he might find himself a role there at the Penrith Panthers.
Almost like a Scotty Sorensen sort of vibe.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. So like those guys, Eisenhuth, guys of Scotty Sorensen, they've come from other clubs and they've just done a really good job for him. I think he might be a guy that can, if he's not in the 17 to begin with, can itch out a role. And yeah, like I said, he's had a couple of rough injuries over the years, but I've seen enough in the 30 or 40 games that he's played for at the Bulldogs, and I think he might even just play one game at the Panthers back in the day, or one or two games at the Panthers.
He debuted in a game where it was like
ages ago. He's 28 now.
So he debuted when I was there.
Yeah.
Him and a few of the boys debuted all at the same time, and it was a really important game because we could have got the wooden spoon, but we ended up 11th.
Yeah.
Which is one of those real weird seasons. And I'd fuck my shoulder, and I was like, "You playing?" I'm like, "No, I'm not playing," because I was going to Manly next year. I was like, "Fucking later, bro. Put the queue in the rack." But they debuted, and he always seems to play well in big games. Like he doesn't necessarily stand out in New South Wales Cup. Like he'll just do his job. But whenever he does his job in NRL, he'll never let you down. So he went to the Roosters, Dogs, had a bad run with injuries, good body shape, but really good kid as well. So yeah, I can see that sort of Scotty Sorensen sort of vibe about him.
Yeah.
Not necessarily unwanted, but can do a really good job for you.
Nice one. Bit of a killer one. All right, let's finish off here with the mighty Melbourne Storm. Minor Prems last year, they just keep doing Storm shit even though they lose players. But obviously there's a lot of noise around them this year, Scope, and they've got cheese for another year. But key gains, I know that you guys are excited that Xavier Coates is down there. They've also got Nick Meaney, Josh King, Jaden Nikodima, who played really nice on Saturday. Key losses, here we go. Fox, Nico Hines, Dale Finucane, Aaron Booth, Max King, Brinko Lee, Aaron Penney to the Mighty Warriors, and Tyson Smoothie.
Where's Smoothie gone?
Smoothie's here, the Titans, yeah.
Is he?
Yeah, I love Smoothie.
He's only on a
Training trial?
not training, the development contract too. I thought he was a little bit older than that, and I thought with just a few games that he played for Melbourne that he would have got a top 30 contract. And they might have upgraded him, but I reckon he's a player to watch out for that start because Aaron Clark is not proven.
No. I mean, he played all right on Saturday, but yeah. Obviously, they've also got I'm not going to say the shark circling, the dolphin circling around there, which everyone has seen, but ice strengths for Melbourne Storm, mate.
Like all the good sides, they're going to be in the conversation, like the Roosters, potentially what the Panthers could be. So, man, the Storm, like you said, the Storm are going to be the Storm. So I think they roll in. I remember reading Craig Bellamy's book back in the day, and Billy Slater sort of changed his narrative about him. So what they used to do after they used to win the comp, they used to wipe down all the walls and like start fresh as well. And like I know a lot of the big teams like the All Blacks and the Roosters, they build themes around their season. One of the most famous scenes in the world is the Last Dance vibe for Chicago, when Michael Jordan and all that leaving. With all the boys, like you said, with the Dolphins circling around, I think they start looking around their locker room. They've seen a bunch of their guys leave last year. Dale Finucane was probably the big one, in my opinion. Obviously, there's Nico Hines and Foxy there.
Yeah.
But they're looking around at Jesse Bromwich. It's the transition of Melbourne. And I think they're looking around the locker room and go, fuck, this is our last little crack together, boys.
Just on that, you've obviously
Someone like Jesse Bromwich, the boys love and hold in the highest regard as well.
Don't want to send him out proper, yeah.
Send him out proper, bro.
What about, you've played in a lot of teams, like a guy like Fox who just seems to, well, not seems to be, is such like an infectious personality. What is losing someone like, obviously he's a gun player, but when you take a guy like that out of the locker room versus taking a guy like Dale who is the on-the-field leader, do you know what I mean? Like, how much does losing a guy like Fox do in the locker room?
When you got like Munster's a bit of a character as well. Like you always
Cheese is still there.
Yeah, Cheese is still there. He's got plenty of he's got enough for everyone.
Yeah.
So like it is a shame, but I think like we'll touch into Xavier Coates a little bit later. Respectfully, I don't think they're going to miss too much.
Yeah, on the field. Yeah,
on the field.
Yeah. All right, Scope. What about you? Strengths.
They've got a motivated Munster. Motivated Munster got a motivated Melbourne Storm. They probably had their worst off-season with regards to player movement, podcasts.
Sorry, guys.
Ice Project.
Sorry about that, Melbourne.
But off-season drama. Yeah. They haven't had this in
a minute
in the time that I can remember for a chance to Bellamy to go, get your fucking heads on now. Like, and imagine. He's a little bit different, actually. He's a little bit different in the way he's perceived when he's blowing up and all that sort of stuff. But it gives him, it's the same thing when I was talking about with Desi. These top coaches find something to latch onto. And sometimes it's a bit harder to find motivation when everything's going right. Won the grand final.
80 wins in a row.
They've fucking been in the grand final. Right. Like a couple of years ago, Roost, like, sometimes when things are flowing, that's the hardest time to motivate people. It's easier to motivate a team that's in the bottom 8. Fuck, we need to get to the top 8. So there's plenty of motivation there now for the Melbourne Storm. I think that'll serve them well. I have them out of the top 4 as well. They're a team that I think might drop out just because of a few reasons we might get to on the weaknesses. But I think a motivated Melbourne Storm is dangerous. Yeah. Dangerous. Because Dale Finucane's a massive loss for me. I think he's the big one for sure. But
I think the fact that both of you boys have saying Dale Finucane, like I obviously saw him as a loss, but I didn't think it was going to be
massive for me.
That big, but you boys are both saying it. It must be.
Just because of the secondary information we get from people that we know in that space. And like when they talk about them, bro, you can just see, it's different. So,
all right, weaknesses I think is pretty obvious for everyone to see, but Ice, where are you going for weaknesses?
Everyone leaving.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that could be their strength, and that also could be their weakness for me. And it's like Scott Scope said, they've sort of had their worst off season in terms of a bit of drama, but like this contract things, man, everyone's sort of dipping out.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think it could be a weakness, but in saying that, they're the Storm. They'll figure it out.
Yeah. They'll roll in someone you never heard of.
It's hard to think of weaknesses for the Storm.
Yeah,
like, they're just a well polished organisation from top to bottom, inside out. But that's like we're kind of just stretching and trying to make up shit here, but maybe.
The top 4 are hard to break down, man. Weaknesses, Scope.
Yeah, it's the same. Player movement and just the distraction that it might lead to throughout the year if they lose another player. But losing a lot of troops, haven't really bringing. They get the opportunity to maybe spend a little bit more money than they've probably done in the past with recruitment as well. That could be a bit of a positive. But at the moment, they need to bring some players in, man, because they're losing them at a high click. And whether that's a distracting factor for guys like Bellyache and Frank Panisiu, who's one of the best footy managers in the league, he's even come out and said it's not an ideal situation. But basically, they've got the best team in the comp, and everyone wants
their players.
Their players, and they're well coached, and in that, it's become a bit of a weakness for them.
Yeah, I think if any club has dealt with off-field drama well before, it's probably Melbourne. So
sure.
The noise, if there's anyone's going to be able to block out the noise.
I didn't feel like they handled it the best last year.
No, but I mean going through. Historically, Melbourne have gone through enough shit in their time where blocking out outside noise, I wouldn't imagine be too hard. But one to watch, Ice. Where are you going for Melbourne?
Sorry, X Factor first.
Oh, X Factor. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Sober Money.
Sober Munster.
Yeah.
Oh.
So he obviously like the guys that are really good in this competition, the DCEs, the Nathan Clearys, the Tommy Turbos. Munster cares about winning, and I think he gets a little bit distracted because of the character that he is, and he's a fun guy to be around. He's great to get on the piss with, and I love all that. But he's a new dad as well, so his priorities have changed. He got into like a little bit of trouble, got dragged through the ringer, went to rehab. I just think he just builds a better person and a better player. And obviously we're hot on money. Like
knock on wood if you're with me.
Yeah, we love everything.
Long live the Prez.
Yeah, we love the Prez. Love everything about him. Got on the piss with him a few times. Fuck, those times were fucking mad as well. But now his focus shifts purely to football.
Deadly.
Holy fuck.
Yeah. Look what he did when his focus wasn't purely football.
And the funny thing, me and Scope were talking about this yesterday. He looks weird. Like, nice and healthy.
Yeah, he looks like...
Want that little mutters about him? And
he looks like Matthew McConaughey from Dallas Buyers Club.
Yeah.
Looks
weird skinny.
Yeah.
Put back a bit of mutters on, bro.
Yeah. X Factor Scope.
The YKTR sports athlete, Hectic Cheese. I reckon he's in for a massive season for a couple of factors. One, because all the shit that was written about him. I know we talk about this a lot. Players' mentality. He's one of those guys. He's like a fuck you, I'll show you sort of guy.
Yeah.
I think he's going to want to prove a few people wrong because a lot of maybe Melbourne fans or even outside noise are saying he's checked out because he's going to the Roosters next year.
No.
I think that's going to really motivate him. Another thing is, just as we get the postman coming in, that's all right, we'll keep rolling.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be part of. I think they're going to. People forget this. He was the best 9 in the competition last year.
He was.
9,
yeah,
and he was starting over Harry. I think they might move Harry to 9 this year, and then with the movement of Dale Finucane, he'll start. There won't be a 14 thing. I think it'll be more harmonious too. Cheese and Harry are best mates as it is, but if they get to share the field together and just both start and.
They won't get that chance again too.
That's a dangerous combination. They'll look at it, yeah. So that they work so well together, bro. As good as Cheese is, no one makes Cheese look better in the competition than Harry Grant. When Harry Grant comes onto the field and they play together, they're going to get some reps together. They're going to be both playing 60 to 70 minutes per game, which is going to be a bonus for the Melbourne Storm. I think Cheese with Harry Grant is the X factor.
I think they got the balance perfect last year. I think Cheese is still going to be their starting 9, and I think Harry will come on and then Cheese will move back.
I think he's the better. Not now that Cheese is
gone,
on.
And
Bellyache will want to see Harry start,
and Harry wants to start for contract money as well. So I think that's really important. But if you think about it, bro, you literally got the Australian hooker and the
New Zealand hooker.
New Zealand. So it'd be like having Cam Smith and Isaac Luke together.
Who's the better hooker right now? If you had to pick
off last year, I think Cheese, but I think Harry Grant as a 9's got really, really high potential as well. So he started his career a little bit late. I think Cheese was the better hooker last year, but it's like, fuck.
Yeah. Apples and oranges.
No, it's not apples and oranges. It's like splitting hairs.
1 and 1, eh?
It's splitting hairs. They're both fucking weapons.
Yeah. All right, one to watch before we wrap up, Ice. Where are we looking?
Xavier Coates, Dally M, winger of the year.
Nice.
That's all I need to say.
Yeah.
He'll be the best winger in the year, but easily. Like, you've seen someone like Fox go down and turn into the best winger in the comp right now. I think Xavier Coates he's just not as quick, but almost as quick.
Oh, fuck, he'd be close, yeah.
He'd be as quick, different body shape, can jump over anyone. Now he's in a really good side. Dally M, winger of the year.
Love it. Where are you going, Scope? One to watch?
Yeah, just with the Fox moving on, Xavier Coates is coming in, but there's a bit of... You've got birds everywhere, yeah? So I think the
what are we hearing, man?
High raps on Marion Sever having a big off season, and I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but Trent Lorio.
Yeah.
Can you?
Yeah.
Do you want to have a crack at it?
If I see the name, I'll remember.
Yeah, there he is.
No, I won't. Yeah, Loiro.
Yeah. No, he's not Māori.
I know. I don't know. Liero.
Keep going.
Liero.
Anyway.
Sorry, brother. Sorry, Trent.
I'm hearing that they're having big pre-seasons, yeah? So a couple of young guys to watch out for with renewed, like with all these old guys moving on. Some of these guys that probably might not have heard of. It's good opportunities for fight for some positions and have big pre-season, start to the seasons. Watch out for them.
Can I finish on a take?
Go for it.
Gut feeling?
Yeah.
I talked to Scope about this earlier. I reckon Payne Haas ends up at the Roosters in the next couple of years.
Well, it's a bit of
I don't know,
man.
Yeah, I know. That's just what I think. I don't know why. It's just got this weird feeling that's going to happen.
You've been very roostery lately.
No. I don't know why, but I just got this weird feeling. And I had this feeling about Kenny and that going up to the Dolphins. Yeah. No inside knowledge or anything like that. Obviously good mates with Mark Boris and all of that, but I just think that's going to happen.
All right, well, there you go. We'll end it there. Jump in the comments and let us know, does Payne Haas end up at the Warriors or the Roosters? Boys, another good show. Be sure to like, be sure to comment, be sure to subscribe. If you're on Apple Podcasts, leave the boys a review. Let us know whose takes you agreed with there. Are you Team Ice, you Team Scope? YKTR Sports Show, another week.